She was just being honest and being open about what God had put on her heart. She was excited about that, and that excitement was contagious. And now here I am a week later telling you guys about it. And I believe you and I, we'll have that kind of similar experience as we're telling other people. A lot of people are going to catch our excitement, and we're going to start seeing momentum build, and we're going to see the impossible starting to feel not so impossible. Nehemiah chapter 2, let's pick up in verse 2. And the king said to me, "Why is your face sad, seeing you are not sick? This is nothing but sadness of the heart." Then I was very much afraid. He was very much a what? Afraid. We'll come back to that. I said to the king, "Let the king live forever. Why should not my face be sad when the city, the place of my father's graves, lies in ruins and its gates have been destroyed by fire?" Then the king said to me, "What are you requesting?" So I prayed to the God of heaven. Interesting. This leads to point number 1. Before the impossible could happen, Nehemiah had to stick his neck out for God. Before the impossible could happen, Nehemiah had to stick his neck out for God. Now when the king spotted Nehemiah being sad, Nehemiah was very what? We just said it out loud. He was very what? He's very afraid. He's afraid. Now, why would that be the case? For example, if I saw one of you sad and I'm like, "Hey man, why are you sad?" You probably would not be very afraid. Why was Nehemiah afraid when the king saw him sad? Let me give you a couple reasons. Number 1, Nehemiah was probably waiting for this moment. And Nehemiah had already felt the call to go rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, and he knew that the only way that could happen is if the king supported him. He knew that task was too big. He couldn't afford it. He didn't have enough labor. In fact, he had to serve the king. And so unless the king said yes, Nehemiah knew this couldn't happen. Verse 1 actually tells us that this conversation with the king happens 4 months after Nehemiah already felt led to go rebuild the walls. Does that make sense? So Nehemiah has been waiting for his shot. It's been 4 months. He now has the chance. He's going to make the big ask for the king, and he's freaking out a little bit. He's freaking out, but he didn't chicken out. You ever been in a situation where you start to freak out and you're like, okay, I can either run or I can fight? Nehemiah decided to fight. I think by the end of today, we're all going to like Nehemiah. He didn't chicken out. He stuck his neck out. And he told the king what God had put on his heart to do. I think another reason Nehemiah was probably a little afraid is that we actually have, so this is the Persian Empire. And we actually have historians from the Persian Empire, and they tell us about how important etiquette is before the king. So the way that this king probably would have operated, that it was such a blessing to be in the king's presence, that this divine man was standing before you, that it was actually a crime to be gloomy in his presence. So like when Nehemiah was sad before him, Nehemiah could have absolutely have lost his job because there'd be a long line of people who would love Nehemiah's job. Nehemiah could have lost his job. Nehemiah could have been punished. Nehemiah could have been killed. But instead, he stuck his neck out. Instead of saying, I'm sorry, it'll never happen again. Instead of trying to make amends, Nehemiah did honor the king. He said, "Long live the king." But then he laid it out before him. And he told the king what was on his mind, what was on his heart. So let's pull this back to you and me for a moment. What does sticking your neck out for God, what does that mean for you and me today? It means simply this. What do you believe God has laid on your heart? Tell other people about it. Tell other people about it. And you don't have to manufacture confidence on this, right? If you're not exactly sure about all the details, that's fine. But be open about what God has told you. If you feel like, hey, God's beginning to stir in my heart to do something, man, tell your small group about that. Ask your small group to start praying about what that could look like. If you already have some of the details worked out, you're like, hey, this is what I feel like God's called me to do. Man, tell your small group about that. Be like, here's what God wants me to do. Would you pray about this with me? Listen, you may be starting to get excited. You may be nervous. Maybe it feels impossible. You don't really know what to do next. Man, well, just stick your neck out there and start telling people about what God wants you to do. A real life example of this from this week, a real life example. And by the way, I believe she's in the room. I don't think she knows that I'm going to tell this story, but I won't tell the name, but I believe she will be honored through the story. Last week, after the service was over, there was a young lady who caught me. And everybody was kind of cleaning things up. We were almost finished with everything for the Sunday services, and we're all about to go home. And then as I'm kind of in the back, she's also in the kids wing, and she's like, hey, I got something I want to tell you. And so what's that? And she told me this story about how she feels like God may be leading her to do something. And I'm like, all right, let me hear about it. I want to hear about it. And she said that she felt like God was beginning to put up on her heart that she wanted to start a small group or a Bible study for other young people who are desperate for friends. And then she's like, okay, thanks, gotta go, bye. You know, a couple things. One, it takes a little guts to tell somebody something you're excited about. Like the norm is actually to complain about things. It takes a little guts to tell somebody something you're excited about. And she had guts. The second thing is, I do want to point out, she didn't ask for anything. She was just excited. God was beginning to lead her to do something, and she was excited about it and just kind of bubbled out in the conversation. The other thing I want to point out is that happened last week, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since she made that comment. And now, like 7 days later, like I found myself like this last week, I've been praying for her from time to time. Just like, God, would you give her clarity? I've been talking to God about it. Like, God, if she decides to move forward on that, like I want to be part of the solution. Like I want to help with that. Like if there's something I can get behind and help that small group getting started, like I want to personally be involved in helping that get started. Like whatever it takes. And I think the lesson for you and me on this is that young lady, she was just being honest and being open about what God had put on her heart. She was excited about that, and that excitement was contagious. And now here I am a week later telling you guys about it. And I believe you and I, like, we'll have that kind of similar experience as we're telling other people. Like a lot of people are going to catch our excitement, and we're going to start seeing like momentum build, and we're going to see the impossible starting to feel not so impossible anymore.